The fabric of the uniform felt like armor, but not the kind she used to wear to keep the world out. This was different. The deep navy blue of the Orion Air dress, with its subtle gold piping, made Diana feel visible, competent, and exactly where she was meant to be. And standing in front of the mirror in the hallway of their Florida home, she took a second just to breathe it in. The reality that Sarah Mitchell, the victim, was gone, and Diana Mitchell, the captain's wife and lead flight attendant, was here to stay. And in the living room, chaos reigned in the best possible way. Sophie was trying to show her little brother Leo how to fly a toy airplane, while Helen, Ethan's mother, and the rock upon which their chaotic schedule rested, was calmly organizing backpacks and lunchboxes. And Diana watched them for a moment, feeling that familiar surge of gratitude that she had a village now. She wasn't doing this alone. And Helen looked up with her warm smile and said, "Don't worry about a thing. We have a very important date with a pizza and a movie tonight. Just fly safe." And Diana hugged them all, breathing in the scent of baby shampoo and Sophie's strawberry hair detangler, anchoring herself before the shift. And the drive to the airport with Ethan was quiet but comfortable, their hands linked over the center console, switching from parents to professionals as the runway lights came into view. And walking through the terminal was a feeling Diana never got tired of. The click of her heels, the way people looked at them, the respect. And Ethan peeled off toward the cockpit briefing, while Diana went to prep the cabin of the massive 787 Dreamliner bound for London, checking supplies, briefing her team, ensuring every detail was perfect, because perfection was safety, and safety was control. But as boarding began, the atmosphere shifted slightly, a subtle tension entering with the passengers. And Diana noticed him immediately. Julian Croft, the reclusive tech billionaire who bought out the entire first-class row 1A. He looked tired, haunted, avoiding eye contact. But it was the woman seated 2 rows behind him in 3C who made the hair on Diana's arms stand up. Not because she was threatening, but because she was watching Croft with an intensity that felt like a hunter, tracking prey. And Diana caught Ethan's eye as he did his final walkthrough, and he gave her a wink that said, "Just another night run." But as the heavy cabin doors sealed them inside and the cabin pressure initialized, Diana felt a strange shiver, a ghost of an old instinct, whispering that this flight, this night, would be anything but routine. And as the wheels lifted off the tarmac and the lights of Florida fell away into the darkness below, Diana realized she hadn't checked the passenger manifest as closely as she should have. Because if she had, she might have noticed that the woman in 3C had booked her ticket with a credit card linked to a shell company based in Charleston, the one place Diana promised herself she would never look back at. The flight was officially underway. The first service completed with a kind of automated precision Diana had quickly mastered. But the subtle tension that started at boarding hadn't lifted. It was clinging to the pressurized air of the cabin like a persistent chill. She kept glancing back at the empty seat, 3C, the one booked by the woman who was now nowhere to be seen. And Diana felt a professional obligation to check it, to make sure nothing was left behind. A lost phone, a pair of glasses, anything. But what she found was not small or easily missed. Tucked deep under the luxurious navy blue seat cushion was a slim, leather-bound journal, dark brown, slightly worn, and Diana pulled it out, her fingers registering the strange weight of it, the feeling of a secret object. And she knew she shouldn't open it. That protocol required turning it over to the purser, but the intensity of the woman in 3C's gaze felt like a silent instruction, and Diana flipped it open. The first page was a chilling, precise scrawl, a detailed plan, starting with a coded phrase. When the lights go out, the dance begins. The text continued, outlining a clear sequence of actions, targets, and escape routes, all centering on the wealthy passenger in 1A, Julian Croft, and a specific timetable tied to the flight's altitude and location over the Atlantic. And Diana's breath hitched, the professional facade cracking. This wasn't a lost item. It was a roadmap to a crime. And she slammed the diary shut, her mind racing. How could she warn Ethan without causing a panic, without alerting the person who wrote this, the person still somewhere on this plane? And as she rushed to the galley service phone, her eyes swept the cabin, studying every face, every movement, searching for a sign. The woman in 3C was gone, but the threat, Diana realized, with a terrifying clarity, was very much still here. Diana barely heard the mechanical click as the galley phone connected her to the cockpit. Her breath was ragged, her hands clammy against the receiver, when Ethan's voice finally came through, calm, professional, and slightly muffled by the headset. She almost sagged with relief. But there was no time for comfort. She spoke quickly, in low, urgent whispers, reciting the chilling phrase in the sequence of actions from the journal. She watched her own reflection in the cold steel of the galley unit. Seeing the fear she was trying desperately to contain Ethan was silent for too long, just a hiss of static in his measured breathing. Diana thought for a moment he hadn't believed her, or worse, that he couldn't afford to. But when he finally spoke, his voice was Captain Ethan Mitchell, all controlled authority and composure. He asked precise, professional questions about the cabin, the woman in 3C, and the journal itself. She answered him, terrified, but anchored by the certainty of his presence. The knowledge that at least she wasn't alone in this sealed metal tube of secrets. He confirmed the agonizing reality. He couldn't call air traffic control yet. He couldn't risk a full emergency declaration without physical proof, not when the danger might be sitting next to a passenger, or worse, wearing the same uniform as her. But he made a promise, an intimate whisper over the cold line. I'm with you, Diana. We handle this internally. Do not let anyone see that journal. The weight of the world shifted from her shoulders to theirs, a shared, terrifying burden. She knew she had to trust the pilot, trust the man who was keeping the plane steady in the dark night sky, trusting that his authority and his love would somehow keep them ahead of the timetable written in that leather book. Diana hung up the phone and stepped back out into the main cabin, and immediately the atmosphere felt heavier, thicker, as if the pressurized air had turned into water. The silence of the sleeping passengers was no longer peaceful. It was a mask. She walked slowly down the aisle, her eyes scanning not just for safety checks, but for betrayal. She looked at the nervous businessman in 12B who was gripping his armrest even in his sleep. Was it fear of flying or fear of what was coming? She looked at the young mother in 4A, innocent, vulnerable, the exact kind of collateral damage the journal didn't care about. And then there was Mark, the junior flight attendant, standing at the rear galley. He smiled at her as she approached, a quick, bright flash of teeth that usually felt friendly, but now, in the shadow of the secret she carried, looked sharp, predatory. Was he the one? The journal mentioned an insider. Diana gripped the leather book hidden beneath her apron, so hard her fingers ached. Every shadow seemed to move. Every rustle of a blanket sounded like a weapon being drawn. She needed to narrow it down. She needed to find the connection to the woman from 3C before the timeline in the book reached its first milestone. Suddenly, the fastened seatbelt sign flickered on with a soft chime that sounded like a gunshot in the quiet cabin. Turbulence was coming, but Diana knew the real storm was already inside.